This is my new book, We Love Railroad Museums, Tourist Trains, and Railroad Parks. We Love Railroad Museums and Tourist Trains and Railroad Parks, written and illustrated by Andy Fletcher. The Amtrak exhibit train travels America. See the Amtrak exhibit train when it comes to your community to learn about the history of Amtrak and its trains. Amtrak trains are a great way to see America. The California State Railroad Museum in Sacramento has many displays of the building of the Transcontinental Railroad. The centerpiece of the museum is the massive Southern Pacific cab-forward locomotive. This Napa Valley wine train locomotive takes us on an elegant dinner train excursion through the Napa Valley wine country at Napa, California. This Lehigh Gorge Scenic Railway engine takes us on an excursion through the Lehigh Gorge State Park in Pennsylvania. Southern Pacific Daylight Locomotive number 4449 takes us on an excursion from the Oregon Rail Heritage Federation in Portland, Oregon. This Great Northern locomotive is on display at the Amtrak depot in Havre, Montana. This Great Northern Hustle Muscle locomotive can be seen at the Minnesota Transportation Museum in St. Paul. The Flag Coal locomotive number 75 travels to many railroad museums to demonstrate how a steam locomotive works. This Manitou and Pikes Peak locomotive can be seen at the Colorado Railroad Museum in Golden, Colorado. This Western Maryland Shea engine takes us on an excursion on the historic Cass Scenic Railroad in Cass, West Virginia. The Electroliners carried passengers from Chicago to Milwaukee and can be seen at the Illinois Railway Museum in Union, Illinois, alongside many famous locomotives. Black River and Western locomotive number 60 takes us on an excursion at Ringo's, New Jersey. This Morristown and Erie engine leads us on a holiday excursion train at the Whippany Railway Museum in Whippany, New Jersey. This Saratoga and North Creek locomotive takes us on a journey along the Hudson River. This Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railroad engine takes us on an excursion through the Cuyahoga Valley National Park in Ohio. This Chesapeake and Ohio locomotive is on display at the C&O Railway Heritage Center in Clifton Forge, Virginia. The Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Museum in Baltimore, Maryland is known as the birthplace of American railroading. This Chesapeake and Ohio locomotive takes us on an excursion along the Hocking River Valley at East Logan, Ohio. The Lakeshore Railway Museum in Northeast Pennsylvania is a great place to learn about the history of railroads as you watch today's freight trains and Amtrak pass by. The Folkestone Funnel in Folkestone, Georgia is a great place to watch the trains of Norfolk Southern, CSX, and Amtrak. Folkestone's annual Rail Watch each April is a great chance to meet rail enthusiasts from around the world. Many railroad museums offer a great chance to safely watch the Class I railroads and Amtrak as they pass by. Railroad museums need the help of Class I railroads and Amtrak to pull excursion trains. The California Western is known as the Skunk Train. It leads us on an excursion through the redwoods from Fort Bragg to Willits, California. Strasburg Railroad locomotive number 475 takes us for an excursion at Strasburg, Pennsylvania. The Cyrus K. Holliday locomotive can be seen at the Kansas Museum of History in Topeka. Southern Railway locomotive number 1401 is on display at the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. The Virginia Museum of Transportation in Roanoke, Virginia is home to the Class J 611, the Class A 1218, and many other famous locomotives. This Seminole Gulf locomotive takes us for an exciting excursion along the Gulf at Fort Myers, Florida. This Iowa Pacific engine takes us on an exciting excursion at Edgerton, Wisconsin. This Sierra Northern engine takes us on the river train excursion at Woodland, California. This Lackawanna F3 locomotive has been restored by the Anthracite Roads Historical Society in Lansdale, Pennsylvania. This Alaska Railroad engine takes us to see Denali on our excursion from Anchorage to Fairbanks. This Alberta Prairie engine takes us on an exciting excursion at Stettler, Alberta. Engine 1702 is at the Great Smoky Mountains Railroad in Bryson City, North Carolina. This Heart of Georgia engine leads us on an excursion on the Sam Short Line at Cordell, Georgia. The National Railroad Museum in Green Bay, Wisconsin has many historic locomotives on display from Wisconsin and across America. This Seaboard Airline engine can be seen at the Hamlet Depot and Museum's Amtrak Depot in Hamlet, North Carolina. The Monticello Railway Museum is a great place to visit and go for a ride behind Wabash F3 number 1189 or Southern number 4401. Monticello Railway Museum is in Monticello, Illinois. The Rochelle Railroad Park in Rochelle, Illinois is a great place to watch trains as they move America's freight. This Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy locomotive is on display at the Amtrak Depot in Galesburg, Illinois. This Illinois Central Gulf engine is at the Bluegrass Railroad Museum in Versailles, Kentucky. This New Haven engine is an example of the many locomotives from New England at the Railroad Museum of New England in Thomaston, Connecticut. Locomotive 136 takes us on an exciting excursion on the South Simcoe Railway at Tottenham, Ontario. Many active steam locomotives tour America to pull excursions and demonstrate how historic steam locomotives operate. Western Maryland Scenic Railroad has many locomotives you can see. Western Maryland locomotive number 734 takes us on an excursion at Cumberland, Maryland, and soon so will C&O number 1309. You can see the Santa Fe engine at the Orange Empire Railway Museum in Paris, California. This locomotive once pulled the famous Super Chief passenger train. This Oil Creek and Titusville engine takes us on an excursion that teaches us about the history of Oil County, Pennsylvania. The Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum in Chattanooga has many historic locomotives, including this famous Southern Railway 4501 that takes you on an excursion from Grand Junction Station in Chattanooga. The North Carolina Transportation Museum was home to the Norfolk Southern 30th Anniversary event and the Streamliners at Spencer event. It is home to the Southern Crescent 6900, Southern 6133, and the Atlantic Coastline Champion engines. The museum hosts many railfan events and excursions from the Bob Julian Roundhouse and Turntable. Union Pacific is famous for its larger-than-life steam engines, such as the Big Boy. Union Pacific Big Boy number 4012 is at Steamtown in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Union Pacific is restoring Big Boy number 4014 so that it will once again be operational. This Baltimore and Ohio engine takes us on an excursion on the Potomac Eagle through the mountains of West Virginia at Romney. This Grand Canyon Railway engine takes us on an excursion from the Amtrak Depot at Williams, Arizona to the Grand Canyon. The Pennsylvania Railroad Museum in Strasburg, Pennsylvania has many historic locomotives on display from across Pennsylvania. The Museum of Transportation in St. Louis is home to the Frisco locomotive number 1522 and the diesel that did it, as well as many other famous locomotives. This book is dedicated to my niece and nephew who enjoy learning about trains as they take the Amtrak Capitol Corridor to the California State Railroad Museum in Sacramento. This book is also dedicated to all of the volunteers who make railroad museums possible. Remember, always be rail safe. Learn about rail safety from Operation Lifesaver.